hers, travelling alone together, he'd come to see her as she'd grown to see him. That he'd appreciate she was now a young woman about to start university, rather than the snotty-nosed sidekick she'd been at school. Their friendship had changed as they'd both navigated school, but there were times when she was sure he saw her as his childhood friend and not as a young woman with curves and hips. She sighed and looked out to sea again. After partying with everyone else, they'd snuck away from the crowds, preferring a few minutes alone before their lives changed when they returned home. "Back to reality, eh? Back to boring," Nico said, before taking a swig of beer and then adding it to the empty bottles stuck in the sand at their feet. "You're off to Oxford, clever clogs. It won't be boring there." She was slightly jealous, though not surprised he'd made it into such a prestigious university. He was one of the cleverest people she knew. "And you're off to Reading. I've never been there before. Dad said it's a beautiful city." Olivia laughed. "I can't believe you're sat on a beach in Bali after travelling around Thailand and Singapore, and you're going on about Reading being beautiful." He chuckled too, opening another beer. "You were more impressed with the bars than the course, I seem to remember." "So? There are important things to consider too. Plus, it's cheaper than London." The bottle she'd been holding had grown warm, tepid lager tingling her mouth. "Just don't get a new best friend, okay?" "I wouldn't dream of it." "Don't go making marriage pacts with anyone else either." When they'd been in Thailand, sat in the bar, they'd drunkenly agreed that if they were both still single at 40, they'd marry each other. It had been a joke, but she'd also secretly hoped that when they reached 39 they'd be able to make it happen. She chastised herself for being stupid. He'd never even kissed her, and apart from a few flashes of possibility, nothing had happened between them in all this time. "I won't, I promise." "I'll hold you to that." There was no chance he wouldn't be married by 40. Girls had always fallen for Nico. Quite a few even threw themselves at him, some with as much force as a circus performer fired from a cannon. She remembered a blonde, bikini-clad, model-looking girl who'd done so only the day before. Yet he never left her side. That had to mean something, didn't it? Nico wrapped an arm around her, resting his head on her shoulder. She could feel his dark hair tickle her neck. "I'll miss you, Olive." He was the only one who was allowed to call her that. She couldn't even remember how the nickname had come about. Something about the first time she'd tried olives around Nico's house. His dad laughing as she screwed up her face at the odd taste. She hated the name Olive when anyone else said it. If they tried, they got the death stare, because it was usually said as a taunt. Nico had always said it reminded him of home, of Italy. "Miss me?" Olivia replied, tilting her head to try and look at him, but only seeing the chestnut curls on his head. "Don't be daft. We'll only be an hour away from each other, and you'll come visit me, won't you?" "Sure, of course." She sensed something in his uncertain tone. He straightened up, and she turned to him. He had never been as close to her as this, and there was something in the air, an electricity, a sense of something significant about to happen. He didn't move away. Instead, his eyes were flitting over her features, studying her eyes and coming to rest on her mouth. Her heart pumped, and she was suddenly aware of her lips, her mouth, her eyelashes. Was this it? Was this the moment she'd been waiting 6 months? No, longer, for. Her heartbeat sped up as his head tilted slightly, his mouth moving closer to hers. Her body began to tingle with anticipation and hope. She closed her eyes, waiting for his lips to touch hers, unable to believe this was actually real. She thanked the stars for making her wish come true. When nothing came, she leaned forwards towards him, eager to find his mouth with her own. Then she felt him shift, sand sliding and covering her hand. When she opened her eyes, he'd moved away, and his expression had changed to fear. She immediately thought she'd